diagnosed on February 18th, my 49th birthday, with stage 3 breast cancer. And the reason it was on my birthday is because I always take the day off and do all my medicals. And on that particular day, I went to get all of my medicals done, and unfortunately, I had to go and get a mammogram and then get additional diagnosis, and came up with stage 3 breast cancer. So February 18th is a very important date in my life. This was a regular screening mammogram, and the screening came back with suspicious cells on the screen. And the technician said, this needs to get further diagnosis, and did biopsies and came back stage 3 breast cancer, age 49. So my family history is deep, deep, deep with breast cancer. My grandmother, my mother, 3 aunties, myself, and my 37-year-old daughter. So when we talk about family history, it runs deep in my family. So yes, I have a family history of breast cancer. When I think about family history, and I think about grandmother and mother and aunties and myself and my daughter, I am an advocate for every woman to say, regardless, if you don't even think you have a family history, you still need to get yourself checked. So my thing is that when I was diagnosed and we did all the testing, came back, I did not even have a cancer gene that would have predisposed me to stage 3 breast cancer. So when you think about all the other elements that attribute to breast cancer, it's not always hereditary, but it is something that is in your system. So very much an advocate for just get yourself checked. Just do it. Just get checked. Because I have a family history of breast cancer, I knew quite a bit about it. So having conversations with my mother and my grandmother before she passed, and auntie. So I knew a lot about it, knew the stages that my mother had gone through as well as what her treatments were. So I thought I was well equipped to understand what breast cancer meant. And I also thought when I was diagnosed that there's got to be geniuses out there who are doing fabulous research, so it can't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard with the medical technologies that we have and advances in research that we have. So I went in thinking, it's just cancer. We'll get through this. Whatever it is, it's just cancer. So I knew a lot about it, but when I took the journey, I learned more. I have 2 lovely daughters. And the way they reacted, my oldest daughter did the research. She investigated who my doctors were, what their success rates were, how often they did surgery, what their treatments were. My youngest daughter wrote me a song and played on her guitar. So as far as my immediate family, they took different approaches. My oldest daughter was joined at the hip with me, wanting to know everything about what was going on with my treatment. She went to chemo with me, radiation. She was all over the place. And every once in a while, the doctors would look at her and say, we know what we're doing, sweetie. And my other daughter was just, Mom's got this. It is. So she was the calm, laid back, and the oldest daughter was I got to know everything about what's going on with my mother. My family is in Texas. My immediate siblings and parents are in Texas, so they were a far distance away. And so surrounded myself with sister friends and my daughters. I was married at the time, so my husband was a supporter as well. But they reacted the way I reacted. And my thought was, it's just cancer. This is just a journey. We're going through this, going to come out on the other side. I have fabulous doctors, researchers. It's just cancer. So I was stage 3 breast cancer. And when you do the research, it's like 4 stages. So I was like an overachiever trying to reach for, I don't know what I was doing. But that's stage 3 breast cancer. And it was in situ carcinoma. So it was contained in the milk ducts, but it had also spread to my lymph nodes. So when I had the surgery to remove the cancer, of the 13 lymph nodes, cancer was in 8 of them. So it was getting ready to spread much rapidly than we had anticipated. So that in situ carcinoma in the milk ducts. That's where it was found. So I had a lumpectomy and then some reconstruction afterwards. So because my cancer was progressing rapidly, the diagnosis in regards to what specifically I needed to do, it was dense dose chemotherapy and radiation. So I said, okay, let's make that happen. What exactly is dense dose chemotherapy? So from May of 2005 through August of 2006, dense dose chemotherapy, and then 30 consecutive days of radiation. So it was, it was intense. It was intense. And I selected that as far as options that I had. Though that was the option that I had, to do the chemotherapy and the radiation and the surgery and get it taken care of. And as of today, I am on no medications, which is a good thing, and 11 years out. 11 years out. So, yay, it worked. In regards to receiving information, I think it was the information I received was just enough that I needed, because I had made up my mind that this was a temporary thing. And regardless if I had more information or less information, my thought was that I am taking this journey for whatever reason. It's going to be a short period of time, and I'm out of here. So the information that I received was helpful to me, for me to share with other people about my experience. It was just enough. It was just enough information. The treatments that I had, like I said, it began in May of 2005 and ended in August of 2016 with dense dose chemotherapy and radiation for those 30 days. So the treatments that I received started out intravenously because the port that I had installed decided not to work. So I was getting chemotherapy injected directly into my veins, which caused a little bit of, upheaval in my body. There were several times where I would react differently. At one time I was in chemotherapy and broke out in hives from head to toe and started hyperventilating. And I'm saying to my doctor at the time, I'm fine, I'll just go home, it will pass. She said, and you will pass out. You need to stay here till we get this under control. So in my mind, I'm thinking all of this is temporary. But the phenomenal doctors and nurses who took care of me in all of their brilliance are saying, we understand that you think you're in control, but you're not. So let us help you. So the chemotherapy itself had some bad effects. I mean, it's a drug that kills all the good cells and the bad cells. But the fact that it was manageable, kudos to the researchers out there. So the treatment that I received, I had no preconceived notions as to what the treatment would involve. So I went in trusting the doctors and my nurses and my care providers, knowing that they would do the very best for me. So whenever I had a reaction, it was like, okay. So there was no expectation. So whatever happened, happened. And I just received it as I received it. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There was no fear going in thinking that these treatments are going to do something really terrible to me. It's just part of getting better. And that's how I received it. Part of getting better. Short-term discomfort to get better for long-term. I have lingering side effects. Now, the thing about the lingering side effects is that when I would go to my chemotherapy or radiation treatments, I made it a point to wear stilettos. And so the impact that the side effects have had has affected my feet. So I still have some neuropathy in my feet, but I still wear stilettos. Is that crazy? That's absolutely insane. But going into chemo, I had no control over what was going on. I did have control over my mind and my thought and how I looked. And so I wanted to go in looking fabulous. So I wore stilettos every time I went to chemo and radiation. And the funny thing is, the nurses or my care providers would say, girl, I am loving them shoes. and I became known for wearing stilettos. And even when I was in a wheelchair being wheeled to chemo, I had on stilettos, and it was like, okay, she is unaware that she's going to chemo, but she has stilettos on. It's all about the attitude, all about the attitude. As far as support is concerned, I have a core good sister friend group, and they were my support. And the reason they were my support is because they truly understood, and they loved me unconditionally. Unfortunately, there were a couple of friends who did not understand the journey, and I needed to be surrounded by positive people. So I politely asked them to return after I was done with chemo. And they graciously did that because their concern was oh, my friend has cancer. I can't fix it. What can I do for her? What's going to happen to her? Oh, my. So they were the oh, my friends, and they had to leave for a short time. The sister friends who would come and visit me and climb in bed with me and just lay with me, those were the sister friends that stayed around. Those were the sister friends who brought meals. Those were the sister friends who rubbed my feet. Those were the sister friends who came with love and support. So my daughters and those sister friends were crucial to my recovery. The support that was made available was readily available. There were resources through the facility that I received treatment from. There was nurses who would call and check in on me. I chose to surround myself by people I knew personally and who knew me personally. And so I did not take advantage of the resources that were made available, and there were tons of them. But my way of getting through this journey was to surround myself with people who could laugh with me, who could cry with me, who understood all of me unconditionally. So that's the journey that I chose. The advice that I would give to someone newly diagnosed is that this too will pass, that you are much stronger than you think you are, that you surround yourself with people who love you and care for you, that you have constant communication with your doctors, your nurses, those who are taking care of you and administering your whatever the medication is that you will be going through, your regimen, your treatments, and to understand that it's just cancer. And the medical technology, all of the advances that we have, the survival rate is much higher than it used to be. I am 11 years out, and I say to myself on a daily basis, the journey that I took with cancer, the people that I met, the places that I have been, I would not have experienced life to its fullest if I had not had this particular journey. And that's how I consider it. It's just a journey. And we come out better on the other side because we appreciate life to its fullest. And it's all good. It is all good. With the Susan G. Komen organization, my experience has always been, because I have a family history, I've always financially supported them, either participating in the walk or just writing a check and sending it in. The first year I was diagnosed, wasn't able to participate in the run of the walk. In 2006, I did my first Susan G. Komen walk after I had been diagnosed. And as I crossed through the finish line and saw the waves of people in pink and balloons and cheering, I had a meltdown. I had an absolute meltdown thinking how wonderful for people who don't know me, and I made it personal, to cheer me on, to say, you can go another step, you can complete this, you can do this. It is all good. So the very first year I walked in 2006 was like, I've got to keep doing this forever and ever and ever. So in my 5th year anniversary, I got a team together of sister friends and family and colleagues, and I wore red heels, stilettos, for my 5-year anniversary and walked the Susan G. Komen walk in 5-inch heels. I'm just saying. I had to make a statement. And on the walk, the comments that I received was, are you going to walk all the way in those heels? And they, absolutely I am. Absolutely I am. I had to make a statement to say, 5 years ago, I started out in heels. This 5-year mark anniversary, I'm going to do this walk in heels. And it was a testimony to the research and the medical advances to say, we're going to find a cure. We're going to walk till we find a cure. So Susan G. Komen Foundation has had an impact on me because I have sister friends. And all of my sister friends are women who have been affected by cancer. So when I look at the mass majority of the women who participate in that walk, who celebrate that walk, what is their 6 months or 1 year or 20th year, we're all sisters in this journey. And my responsibility is to support Susan G. Komen for what they do.